Hey, welcome back to Matt again. My name is Rampage, and this is just going to be sort of my video response to AlphaOmegaSin's last two videos. The first one is the ESA claims game prevention is hacking. The other is why I worry about the future of digital-only console games. So I'll get into that last video and sort of go through my opinion about a few things there. But the first video, the ESA, or the Entertainment Software Association, claim video game prevention, or preservation, by using such means like emulation is not only illegal, but hacking. So they basically want to state that, being able to obtain games I can no longer buy is considered illegal now. Why would that be considered illegal if I can no longer purchase said game? Because, either the developer or publisher just completely removed it from a service or no longer prints the retail game. There's no other way for users to get or gain access to games that are no longer available, i.e., NES games or Nintendo games. I can't buy them anymore, or they're just extremely expensive for what they are worth, or what they should be worth, right? Now, if these developers or publishers for, say, Nintendo release Nintendo 64 games, I don't know if they do this, so forgive me if I'm wrong there, because I haven't owned a Nintendo console in quite some time, but yeah, again, correct me. But if Nintendo has, Nintendo 64 games, Game Boy Advance games, Game Boy games on the Wii, then that would be fine. But if they don't, then, it's really hard to get those games, especially Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Those games can go for $120, $150, $300, $500, depending on the quality of the box and, everything else. So, I don't want to spend that much money. If the developer releases it on some form of, digital distribution, then I would be able to purchase it a lot cheaper, or how they would price it, which would probably be around $20 to $50 because that game is pretty epic. But from anything like, Xbox or PlayStation, I don't know if you can buy PS2 games on the PS3. I have no friggin' idea, because I haven't really had a PS3 for very long, and when I had a PS3, they didn't allow you to run PlayStation 2 games on your PS3, or at least not after the first generation, which was the 60 gig console, right? The one with the memory card slot. That one. Pardon me. And then quite recently, I believe, they sort of started to transition into allowing you to purchase some, not all, PS2 games. Now, as for Xbox, you can play some Xbox original games on Xbox 360. As for Xbox One, I don't believe you can play any 360 or original Xbox games on Xbox One. And I believe the same might occur with the PS4, because I think they brought in that sort of streaming game service. I don't really care about that, because if I'm streaming a game to my console, I'll probably be downloading more than the actual game is worth. But I'll get into that in a moment. But I do have a few sort of points here that I want to sort of go through. And one of them is no longer available to purchase. How can you obtain the game legally? And, emulation has been one of those things that allows users, at least on PC anyway, to play extremely old games or unsupported games for new operating systems, right? Like anything that ran on MS-DOS, Windows 95 even, and shit like that. You can't, most of the time, play them natively on, say, Windows 7. It just doesn't work. It's not supported, regardless of whether you change the compatibility to Windows 98 or 95, what have you, but you just can't run MS-DOS games, right? So if I wanted to play an MS-DOS game, I got to run an emulation software that wasn't created by Microsoft. If Microsoft allowed users natively to play those games, then it wouldn't be an issue. Now, the issue lies where I can't officially purchase them, or a lot of these games. A lot of them are being supported now on Steam, but they also use, I think it's called DOSBox. So there's a gray area there, because DOSBox, sorry if you could hear my stomach grumbling there, but yeah, DOSBox is an emulation software that is external to Steam. And it's not official from what I can gather. So is that illegal if I can purchase a game on Steam but then play it through DOSBox? Is that illegal? According to the ESA, that is still illegal. So if the developer, publisher, still getting money for it, but yet it's playing on an emulation software externally from Steam, that is still illegal? I think you've got your priorities backwards there, don't you think? But anyway, who asked for this to happen? Who asked to make preservation of games like emulation illegal? Who asked for this to happen? Now, saying that it's illegal is one thing, but classifying it as hacking? We're not really hacking anything. Maybe the people creating the ROMs and, the people creating the emulation software. Sure, maybe, right? Because they have to hack their consoles or have some kind of device that will read either I think it's like the disk code or, the actual firmware itself or some bullshit like that, and have a backup so that the actual PC or whatever they're running it on will think that they're running the actual original system, say the PS1 or PS2, Game Boy Advance, stuff like that. So, yeah, again, who asked for this? Did anybody even ask for that to happen? No idea. I don't know whether the ESA has actually gone into it, but that's a question that AlphaOmegaSin actually asked in his video. I'll also link his video, both the videos that I'm referring to in the video description. Emulation allows users to be emulation allows users that are unable to purchase old games due to the lack of preserving the titles. So, yeah, emulation has helped loads of people discover old games that they've never played before. Like me, I haven't played countless of games. There's a huge fucking list that I haven't played, right? I never played any MS-DOS games. I never played many PlayStation 1 games. Emulation has allowed me to do that. I don't know whether I can actually purchase, I think I can purchase most PS1 games now, but, older games than that, right? Game Boy Advance games, Game Boy Color games, and all that kind of shit allows me to play it. GameCube, all that shit. Now, granted, you can still play GameCube games on Nintendo Wii, stuff like that. So backwards compatibility is perfect. It would completely demolish emulation if all of these next-gen systems supported backwards compatibility. Say, PS4 supported PS3, PS2, PS1 games, for instance. Or the Xbox One, Xbox 360, Xbox original games. That would make life so much more easier, and people would probably pay for backwards compatibility because they did with the original PS3. So thinking that, these developers, publishers, and, distribution services can't do it is completely out of the question, because they can. They have shown that they can release PS1, PS2 games on the PlayStation Network store to allow you to play them on your PS3 or PS4. I don't know if PS4 can play them, but I know that PS3 can, I'm pretty sure. Or at least now they can. As for Xbox 360, some of the original Xbox games are supported on that platform, therefore you can purchase them on the Xbox Live Store. As for Wii, I'd assume it would be the same with GameCube games. But yeah, being able to play them natively on our systems is the perfect way to deal with this emulation issue. Now, if these guys want me to repurchase something that I have already purchased, have the actual disc, or have purchased the digital version on a previous generation console, why would I go ahead and spend more money on the same game I've already purchased or already have a physical copy of? That kind of thing does not make sense to me at all. That is just blatantly greedy. You're asking for money. You've already asked for money for the initial purchase. Why would I spend another load of money so I can use the other game or my original copy as a fucking coaster? Does that sound viable? No. So that is why emulation is popular. That is why people like emulation, because they can play their old games because the new systems do not support it. If it was natively supported, this whole idea of emulation would be completely out the window, right? Unless you want to play it at 60 frames per second, then I would say emulation is perfectly fine if you want to play it at a higher resolution and a higher frame rate if you own the game. Perfectly fine, right? Now, alternative to emulation or illegal emulation, devs or publishers create their own emulation software. Now, this is where we get into the idea that, PlayStation have their sort of emulation streaming garbage service, which is kind of stupid, and I've never really liked that idea, where you can stream older gen games or PS3 games to your PS4. Why the fuck would I stream them if I already own these games, regardless of whether I purchase them on digital distribution or on the PS3, because you can't transfer games that you purchased on the PS3 to the PS4. I don't know if that has changed. I haven't really kept up with the PS4 or Xbox One for those exact reasons. No backwards compatibility at all. No, game transferring. None of that shit. You can fuck your consoles right off, mate. But yeah, I recently purchased both the Xbox 360 and PS3, and I'm starting to get some of those old games that I'd never played before, simply because there is no other way for me to play them. Now, that is perfectly fine, but I don't want to have to purchase every console in the world just to play games that I never played. Now, you might think that that is a bit strange, or you're a bit of an idiot, you should do that if you want to play the games. Well, there should be an alternative. These developers, these publishers, distribution services don't have that. They don't have multiple means to play these games. Now, a streaming service would or should allow you to play every type of game on any system. And this is where the idea of, developers that claimed or mentioned previously that this current generation would be the last console generation. And that kind of scares me for two exact reasons. And the first is Australia and everyone else that does not have good internet cannot support that shit. And two, does that mean if I buy a Sony listed console thing, I can play Xbox games? It's just streaming. It's not, a physical disc. It's not a physical disc that requires some kind of hardware reading code or some bullshit on the drive. Therefore, it would only play that specific console game. How will it work? Will you still be locked? Or is it going to be a mixed bag of, say, Nintendo, Xbox, and fucking PlayStation? Who knows at this point? They'll probably release their own bloody streaming system and still charge the same fucking price for it, right? That scares me the most. If online only gaming was a thing, streaming it, then I wouldn't be able to game anymore. I simply wouldn't be able to do it. And that really scares me, especially on consoles. Now, if PC started to do that, I'd be fucked. Games upwards from 25 gigabytes to 60 to 80 gigabytes, I'd have to stream that shit. You could guarantee it that you would be streaming way more than what that actual game is. Even if you're streaming, say, a game that's around 6 to 12 gigabytes, you could probably assume that you would be downloading way more than that. So, I don't know. It's a really confusing issue. But anyway, The next video that I'll be referring to is why I worry about the future of digital-only games. What happens to digital games after they've been taken off their distribution service? Now, AlphaOmegaSin talked about one of the games that he had that was removed from PlayStation Network, where it was Afterburner Climax, which was removed from PlayStation Network and also removed from his download list. Now, imagine this. If you have, say, 30 games on Origin, for example, or Steam, and one of your games gets removed from the store and removed from your list without any reasoning whatsoever, or even telling you that a game has been removed, because that has happened to me before, where like the license changed or something like that. Like Deadpool was completely removed from Steam. I didn't own the game, but I know people that did have it, and I couldn't purchase it anymore. I don't know if I can now, but it was completely removed. You could still play it and download it and shit, but the people that wanted the game that didn't buy it yet have no way that they could purchase it. I don't know whether... I'm pretty sure you can't buy it retail anymore. So how do you expect people to play that game if you're not going to support them? So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a really, really strange issue. The cost of old or hard-to-find games is extremely expensive, and that is another reason why emulation is quite popular, because people don't want to spend upwards from $100 for an old game. It's just not really viable for most people, because you would be spending way more on older games, obviously, just to be able to play them again, you know? Maybe the collectors would like to do that, because they wouldn't touch it. They would have it as a collection piece and have it displayed. That kind of thing is perfectly fine, but it kind of defeats the purpose if you actually want to play them, because the value goes down as soon as you play it. So I don't really see how video games can still go up, even if the condition is really terrible. If it was completely brand new and sealed, then fuck yeah, fine, I'd agree. But if it's not sealed, then why are you charging upwards of $100 for an old game that I can't buy anymore? That doesn't really happen with computer monitors or tables. Maybe for like really, really old antiques and shit. But like, I'm talking about IKEA stock that you can't buy anymore. Does the value instantly go up once you can't buy it anymore? The logic doesn't really... I don't know, I can't really grasp my head around it. Like, antiques, why? It looks kind of shit, you know, there's holes in the back of it, there's shitty fucking wood on it. Why are you charging upwards of $1,000, you know, that kind of thing. I just don't grasp it, and I don't get the idea behind it. The same goes for games. Just can't grasp the idea. People that think that emulation is wrong. Well, if you think emulation is wrong, then you can go out and find old games and pay quadruple the amount that the original copy costs. You can go ahead and do that. But it's up to, or it will be up to, the developer and publisher whether or not that they'll actually support that game on previous consoles or next-gen consoles. So if they're not supporting it, nobody's getting money for it, why is that an issue? If these guys created some kind of software and said, yep, this is going to be our emulation software, you need to buy it, and you need to buy or, you know, donate to play some games that you already own, that's fine. But depending on how much that so-called donation would be, depends on whether that service would be viable, whether it would be considered for most people, you know. A lot of people don't like to purchase things twice. I'm one of those people. If I already own the physical copy of the game, I don't want to purchase it again just to give you more money. If I've already paid my $60 to $120 for any game that I previously purchased, I'm not going to pay you again. It's just as simple as that. Now, if you're not going to allow me to, say if you're going to remove all PlayStation 3 games off the PlayStation Network store and never allow people to connect to online again, you're not allowing people to archive their own games on external hard drives. So how do you expect me to have that kind of thing be okay? You know, if you're going to remove games and not actually tell me, yet I can't archive them myself, that's a huge issue within itself. Another issue is what happens when these consoles get no support. You can no longer access your online account to re-download your games. What happens then? That also scares me, because I recently just bought a PS3, like I mentioned before, and I don't know if any of my downloads have been removed. I haven't been on PlayStation for over 3 years, or around 3 years, something like that. So I don't know what I bought, what I didn't buy, or what has been removed, what hasn't been removed, right? So if you're not going to tell me what you're removing and why I'm not getting a refund, you shouldn't be allowed to remove it from my download list. That is a fucking huge issue. And I know that this video has gone on for 21 minutes now, but I feel like I had to sort of display my opinion as well. So yeah, if you're going to remove a game from any service, Xbox Live, fucking Nintendo Wear, whatever it is, PlayStation Network, Xbox, Steam, Origin, Uplay, all that shit. If you're going to remove a game and not tell me about it, if I've purchased it, you should be giving us a refund, should you not? If we can no longer access that game. That seems really illegal. Yet they think that emulation should be illegal. How can these companies get away with that kind of shit? How? It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, let me know what you think about that, and I'll leave the link to AlphaOmegaSin's videos in the description below. My name is Rampage. Please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.